I let out a great big yawn. It was like morning had arrived just as I got to sleep. Oh, bro, I feel that. That was me today. As mom set up breakfast, she gave me a pained smile.
どうしたのケイチ。昨べは何時に寝たの？
12時には寝たつもりだけど、昨日はなんだか寝つきが悪くてさ。
お祭りではしゃぎすぎて興奮して眠れなかったんでしょ。
違うよ。
I crunched down hard on the pickled radish to hide my embarrassment. After all that happened yesterday, and our discussion about the sounds Shion heard, that banging noise like a child far away jumping up and down on a wooden floor, the story wouldn't get out of my head, so I had trouble sleeping. It was a long night, and I kept jumping at the slight sounds of faraway tree branches, which would have been either unhearable or too insignificant to notice. When I woke up to the morning sunlight and birds chirping, it made me feel pretty ashamed about it, but I felt far from refreshed this morning. Oh boy.
あれ？ケイチくん目が真っ赤だよ。どうしてだろう？
おはよう。どういうわけか寝つきが悪くてな。そんなわけで今日は寝不足だ。
Oh, now I'm yawning. No, don't do this, Kate.
昨日のお祭りは楽しかったね。レナも興奮がなかなか冷めなくて、なかなか寝れなかったんだよ。
In Rena's case, her excitement seemed to still be wide
こう
awake.
いうお祭りが何度もあればいいのにね。またみんなで大盛り上がり。は
お、まあ、そうだな。
Rena talking about the festival yesterday made me remember everything I had nearly forgotten from last night. The inside of the ritual storehouse had been so utterly different from the relaxed, bright, everyday life of Hinamizawa. And once again, this is what it looked like in the... well, just the classic backgrounds. But if we look at the modern backgrounds for this section, for the console backgrounds, it does look completely different, which is interesting. But here you kind of get to see the torture room that we were inside of. Remember, this is inside of a shrine temple's like warehouse that's supposed to store like all the ritual tools in just like the main chamber, and then you have an antechamber that leads to this, like just two giant stone doors or something that lead to a room that's filled with this, just torture devices all over the place, and it's pretty crazy. But either way, back to the original backgrounds. All those stories that Takano-san told me, the mysterious incidents that occurred on the day of the Watanagashi festival every year, the strange incidents where one person would die and one would disappear, the old stories of Hinamizawa flickering like a candle behind them, the numerous and horrifying traditions of Onigashiki village, the villagers with demon blood in them, or ogre blood in them, the terrible cannibalistic feasts, the poor sacrifices kidnapped from human villages, victims of the Onikakushi. To quell the rage of Oyashiro-sama, the ritual involving living sacrifices. And once again, Onikakushi means to be demoned away, quote-unquote. Just like spirited away, but this is basically just kidnapping by ogres instead of spirits. There were also many, many others. There were so many stories that just remembering them put me in a foul mood. Oh no. Most of them weren't fiction either. They were real. We didn't need to fear them just because they were real though, since it all happened so long ago. But that is true. Like, not that the villagers have ogre blood in them, but the fact that they actually perform cannibalistic rituals and kind of have been for like the past 200 years, that is true. Such a very long time ago.
みーちゃん遅いね。
Before I realized it, we had arrived at the place where we'd usually meet with Mion. Probably because I was so lost in
こ
thought.
の時間になっても来ないときは先に行ってもいい約束になってるんだけど、どうする？
Mion being late wasn't too rare of an occurrence, but today she was unusually late. A few of the ominous tales from the night before came back to life in my mind again. Who would die this year, and who would disappear? It couldn't have been Mion.
どうするかな、ケイチくん。もう行かないと遅刻になっちゃうかも。
来るよ。学校休むって電話があったわけじゃないだろ。もう5分待ってみようぜ。な。
Elena looked at her watch and seemed a little worried, but then she nodded with a satisfied smile. If we had to wait 5 minutes, we'd have to run as fast as we could to school or we'd be late. As soon as I thought that, we spotted Mion running towards us, out of breath.
みーちゃん、遅い遅い。
Imagine if she... Oh.
待っててくれたわけ？先に行っちゃってもよかったのに。
Mion was breathing heavily, and her face was all red. Her house was right down this road, wasn't it? It wasn't far enough away for her to end up like this, was it?
みーちゃん、ひょっとして具合悪くない？
Huh? Now that she mentioned it, Elena pushed Mion's bangs away and put her hand to her forehead.
レナの手、冷たいな。
みーちゃん、ちょっとだけど熱あるよ。
Oh no, which one is it?
そんな大したことないよ。
Well, she was just running towards us, so it makes sense for her, body temperature to be a little higher than normal, since running will do that to you.
半日もすればケロッと治っちゃうって。
本当に大丈夫かよ。あんまり無理するなよ。
あれ？ケイちゃん、気遣ってくれるの？嬉しいな。
That answer wasn't like Mion at all. She must have had it pretty bad.
無理しない方がいいと思うな。先生にはお休みだって伝えとくよ。
大丈夫大丈夫。風邪薬も飲んだし、すぐに効いてくると思うから。
Mion forced an energetic expression onto her face and flexed her biceps at us.
じゃあ行こうか。くれぐれも無理するなよって言いながら時間。
走らないと間に合わない。
Oh,
スリリングな朝になっちゃったね。
we get the best song again. Why?
鈍った体にはちょうどいいカツかもね。
Also, we haven't heard this track in a while. Like, much at all. We heard the song a lot more in the first chapter, but chapter 2 hasn't had it as often. But man, that bass line is just so good. Anyway.
走ろ。
Hey, wait! You're sick! Don't go overboard! Mion began to run vigorously away.
みーちゃんだって最上級生だよ。自分の体のことは自分で一番よくわかってるよ。
I decided to leave it at that and assumed she was fine.
よし、俺たちも行こうぜ。
We began to run after Mion. The school looked the same as always. The hours passed listlessly and my lack of sleep took its toll. If there was a sport where people competed by sleeping, I'd be the world champion right now. The trick to overcoming this sort of dangerous situation was to hold your pencil upside down. Why, you ask? So you don't draw strange patterns all over your notes while half asleep. True. If you were holding your pencil upside down, that wouldn't happen, would it? Something that felt like an eraser hit me in the head 6 times.
何しやがるサトコ。
私は何もしてないでございますわ。
お前以外にこんないたずら誰がするんだよ。消しゴムじゃなくてチョークか。え？
Uh-oh. We hardly see the teacher, which is interesting. So let's show her off again. But there she is. She's so fucking mad. Behind me, like a female outlaw might hold razors, was the teacher's shadow, holding 3 pieces of chalk in each hand. Oh no.
前原くん、お顔を洗ってらっしゃい。
はい。喜んで。
That alone was enough to wake me up, but I flew out into the hallway as if shoved out by the pressure exuded by the teacher's sheer power. If I was going to wash my face anyway, then I would rather use the sink out front rather than the ones in the dark restroom. Thinking that, I left the hallway and went to the entrance. The sunlight was strong, so strong you wouldn't think it was June. I turned the faucet, and with a lifeless, bubbling noise, lukewarm water came pouring out. If I let it run for a few moments, would it get cold? I looked at it absent-mindedly for a little while.
やっぱケイちゃんはこっちの流しを選んだか。表の方が気分いいもんね。
ミオンか。授業サボるなよな。
I stuck my hands into the water to find out if it had gotten so cold that it seemed strange. I stuck my hands into the water to find it had gotten so cold that it seemed strange it had ever been warm. Holy fuck, I can't read today. I scooped it up and splashed it against my face. Once I was done, I moved out of the way and Mion did the same.
ミオン、具合の方はいいのかよ。眠いのは寝不足じゃなくて、薬の副作用なんだろ？
実は内緒なんだけど、昨日はお祭りの後で親族の宴会に巻き込まれちゃってさ。それで、実はエンドレスに突入しちゃって。
I knew it. You harlot, you got drunk. A bit. She made a gesture like she was tilting a cup into her mouth. Which means you didn't have a cold or anything.
つまり、本当に寝不足なのかよ。徹夜明けならそうと言え、紛らわしい。
勘弁してよ。体調が悪いのは本当なんだからさ。
I suppose she'd be feeling lousy either way. True. Still, you treat colds and hangovers in completely different ways.
心配して損したぞ。ったく、ミオンらしいというかなんというか。
Mion scratched her head, a little embarrassed. She didn't seem to be feeling well, but now that I knew it was a hangover, I didn't need to worry too much. Yeah, plus it kind of depends, like, where you are in the planet. Like in the US, like, the drinking age is what, 21, I think? I don't remember. In Germany, it was 16. And you can technically drink at 14 or 15 if you've got, like, you know, your parents' permission. Like, if a parent is with you, you can drink alcohol. And I mean, I think Mion is 15 or 16, so technically, depending on your culture, it will be quote-unquote okay. Plus, I mean, if you're with your family, who the fuck is gonna stop you? Like what authority figure is going to stop you from drinking in your own, like, private property in the mountains in 1983's Japan, in a remote village with a population of 1,000 people? It would go away with time. It would go away with time after all.
ああ、でも頭がガンガンするのは本当。だからさ、さっき先生に早退していいって言われちゃった。
あ、ずるいやつ。じゃあミオンはもうこれで帰りなのか？
Now that I looked again, Mion had her bag with her. She must have been on her way home.
申し訳ないけどね。今日は家でおとなしく寝させてもらうわ。部活できなくて申し訳ないね。今日はケイちゃんがリーダーってことでやってくれない？
多分無理だと思うぜ。俺たち部活は全員揃った時しかやらないっていう暗黙の了解があるだろう。ミオンがバイトに行ってる時はいつもそのままお開きだったんだぜ。
Mion laughed wryly, saying we didn't need to worry about her. No matter how much fun we have, though, I think that feeling guilty about friends who can't share in it is the sign of a really fantastic friendship. True. In that sense, the club Mion has created is a wonderful thing. As I thought about it, the moisture on my washed-up face dried up. I suppose we were talking too much. If I didn't get back to the classroom soon, I could get in trouble.
じゃあな。俺は教室に戻るぜ。帰りは気をつけろよ。ふらふらして速攻や用水路に落ちるなよ。
I left it at that, turned around, and started heading back to the classroom.
あ、そうそう、ケイちゃん。
Mion stopped me, and I turned my head to listen.
なんだ？
変なこと聞くけど、深く考えないで答えてね。
そりゃ内容によりけりだな。
昨日の綿流しの晩さ、富武さんと高野さんに会わなかった？
Oh. I still do not understand this pose. Like, I really don't get it. I suddenly tensed up.
富武さんと高野さんはわかるよね。ほら、ケイちゃん、お祭りの前日準備の時、シオンと一緒に4人でお話ししてたでしょ？
If I could, I wanted to forget about sneaking into the storehouse that night as soon as possible. So hearing the names of people I was with at the time really got to me. Besides that, though, why was Mion asking me a question like that? I ended up staring at her, unable to answer immediately. Was she asking to see if I had seen them or not? Or was she asking the question knowing that I had? I couldn't tell.
さあ、どうかな。会ったような、会わなかったような。
My vague response was clearly not to Mion's liking. What answer was she expecting from me? There was no way for me to know.
そう。じゃあもう一つ質問ね。同じく夕べ、シオンに会わなかった？
My heart leapt to my throat again. The tiny needles buried underneath Mion's words pricked into me.
それ、昨日も聞いたよな。俺、会ったかどうかわからないって答えたと思ったぜ。
そうだっけ？また改めて聞いたら、違う答えが返ってくるかなって思ってさ。
Oh. I suddenly noticed something in Mion's eyes. Something indescribable. Tomitake-san and Takano-san. Shion, too. She was asking me about them. There was no doubt about it. Last night, the four of us snuck into the ritual storehouse. She knew everything. So what? There's not really a curse anyway. That's right. Even Shion and Takano-san said yesterday during the festival that there was no curse. And that rather than the curse, it was the doing of the villagers. My blood curdled. Mion was, almost without a doubt, aware that we snuck into the storehouse? It was nothing strange. I screwed up bad. I screwed up bad flipping on the light switch by. Holy fuck, dude. I screwed up bad flipping on the light switch last night. If Mion had been searching for me, it was simple to imagine that she had seen that momentary light and come to find out what was going on.
本当に会ってないんだね。
どうして会ったかどうかをそんなに気にするんだよ。
大したことじゃないの。
Okay, it's the same face. I don't remember if we had seen her in this pose with that expression, even though we might have. Also, before I forget, yesterday I did say I think this is the first time we've seen Keiichi, like, his face for like the first time, and then I remembered that in like chapter 4 or whatever, when Shion like comes to our aid, there's a CG scene with like Keiichi like right behind her, so we get to see him. But anyway.
富武さんと高野さんとシオンとケイちゃんをね。 悪く言ってる人たちがいるの。何が悪いんだかはよく聞いてないんだけどね。
Unpleasant sweat dripped down my arms, and the sound of it hanging from my fingertips was so annoyingly loud.
私、ケイちゃんが悪いことをするなんて信じてないから。でも、ちょっとだけ聞いてみたかったから聞いてみたの。不愉快な思いをさせてごめんね。
I found myself unable to reply. My reaction must have made it obvious what the truth was, and yet I couldn't explain myself.
ケイちゃんは、富武さんとも高野さんとも、そしてシオンとも一緒じゃなかった。そうだよね。
ああ。
I finally wrung out an answer between my ragged breaths. Mion's expression softened a little.
よかった。私言っとくね。ケイちゃんは何にも悪いことには加わってないって。みんなにちゃんと言っておくからね。
Yeah, please do. Tell them I wasn't doing anything bad. To everyone. Make sure. Everyone. Everyone. Who is everyone?
じゃあね。明日は元気になってるから。バイバイ。
Wait, Mion. What do you mean by everyone? Just then, a freezing cold hand touched the back of my neck.
こら、遅いですよ、前原くん。顔を洗うだけなのに時間がかかりすぎです。
It was the teacher. I was taking so long she came out to get me.
あ、すみません。ついミオンとおしゃべりを。
I turned around, but Mion had crossed through the schoolyard without me realizing it, and was now standing at the gate. Also, hey Mina, thanks for stopping by.
さあ、お勉強に戻りますよ。早く早く。
The teacher was being insistent. We returned to the entrance. I looked back one more time, and Mion was nowhere in sight. Oh, that was fucking, like, scary, man.
ケイチ、今日はずっと元気がないのです。
So it's kind of obvious that that people know that we were somewhere we weren't supposed to be last night. It seems.
昨日大はしゃぎしすぎたからに違いありませんわ。
迷子になって目を真っ赤にさせて半泣きしてたやつに言われたくねえ。
Aw. She's such a gremlin.
ゆうべのさとこちゃん、可愛かったよ。はう。
My friends did their best to try to cheer me up, but it didn't lighten my mood. Was it far worse than I thought? Had I really done something that terrible last night? These thoughts remained with me for the rest of the day.
じゃあね、ケイチくん。また明日ね。
By the time I realized it, I was in front of my own house.
みーちゃんも風邪だったみたいだけど、ひょっとしてケイチくんもなのかな
え、大丈夫だよ。こう見えても風邪で休んだことはないんだぜ。
でも、みーちゃんもケイチくんも、今日は具合が悪そうだし。
気にしてくれてありがとな。大丈夫。バカは風邪ひかないんだぜ。
Then a smile, then waved to me and left. With my shoulders bobbing up and down from breathing heavily, I entered the house. As soon as I got back in, Mom called out to me.
何？
ケイチ、悪いんだけど図書館に行って本を返してきてくれない？
めんどくさいな。
お父さんも母さんも今ね、ちょっと電話待ちをしてるところで家を開けられないの。返却期限も今日までだし、お願いできない？
Sheesh. Did I have to do it with Dad's job? Or did it have to do with Dad's job? No point in arguing if they bring that up.
仕方ないな。でも俺、図書館がどこにあるか知らないよ。
あら、知らないの？沖宮の駅前をちょっと進んで。
Just then, the phone rang. My parents' faces immediately turned grim. Mom snatched up the receiver.
もしもし、前原です。はい？
Hi? Oh, I knew it.
はい、おりますけど。
Oh? Then she thrust the receiver at my face.
圭一に電話よ。
え？
早めに終わらせてね。
I tried to ask who it was from, but asking the person on the phone directly would be faster.
もしもし。
園崎の妹の方です。こんにちは。今はお時間大丈夫ですか？
It was Shion. The older sister had a hangover today, but the younger made no reference to it.
シオンか。ミオンと同じで、今日は徹夜明けで寝込んでるんじゃないかと思ったぜ。
え？
それじゃあおね、今日はずる休みですか？おねらしい。
She laughed warmly, but Mom glared at me, silently telling me to finish up.
ごめんな。ちょっと親が電話待ちをしてるんで、そんなに長話はできないんだ。何の用だ？
お話ししたいことがあったんですけど、長電話が無理じゃ仕方ないですね。
She sounded a little disappointed. What would Shion want to talk to me about? Now I was interested.
じゃあさ、会って話をしないか？ついでに図書館にも案内してもらえるとありがたい。
図書館って駅前の私立図書館ですか？別にいいですよ。バイトのついでってことで。
じゃあいつもミオンと待ち合わせてる場所わかるか？園崎家の小道に分かれる分岐の。
あ、ケイちゃん言ってませんでしたっけ？私本家じゃなくて沖宮の家に住んでるんですよ。
Right.
だから待ち合わせ場所は沖宮駅の改札前なんかにしてくれた方が嬉しいんですけど。
Main house. Living in Okinomiya. Now that she mentioned it, it's always seemed like the Sonozaki sisters weren't communicating. That they live in different houses. Yeah, Keiichi, we learned about this like 2 chapters ago. That Mion lives in Hinamizawa and Shion lives in Okinomiya. Like, she literally told us this. Like 2 chapters, you fucking forgetful bitch. Also, now that she mentioned it, Rena said she'd never met the younger sister, despite going over to play sometimes.
じゃあ駅に集合な。すぐに行くよ。じゃあ。
I set the receiver down and Mom immediately thrust a large pile of library books in my face. 6 volumes of long-form mystery novels. Mom had her own hobbies.
圭一、よろしくね。お夕飯までには帰るのよ。
じゃあ行ってくれよ。
I suppose I'd change my clothes and grab my bike key. I climbed the stairs to my bedroom. Shion had been waiting for me already, so meeting up was a smooth process.
ミオンと違って、シオンは待ち合わせ時間を守るな。しみじみ。
おねを標準にされるといろいろと困ります。
Shion seemed a little unsteady too. She was drinking with Mion last night, wasn't she?
お前も夕べは寝てないんだろ？隠しても無駄だぞ。で、学校を早退したに違いない。
残念でした。私はそもそも今日はずる休みしてますので。私、おねより容量いいですから。
Oh. Hey. I don't think you can call playing hooky smarter.
じゃあ、先に用事を片付けます？時間もそんなにないですから。図書館へ行くんですよね。
ああ、頼むよ。お袋の借りてる本の返却期限が今日までらしいんで。図書館は遠いのか？
すぐ近くですよ。
As she said that, we spotted the signboard for the library almost immediately. If it was this easy to find, then I guess I didn't need Shion to show me where it was after all. We rode around a bend and the building was right there. Shishibone Public Library. We lived in the country, so I hadn't expected too much, but it was pretty big. The first floor was actually a government office, so the library was only on the second floor, but it still looked large enough to fit a decent collection of books. And here's the library itself. And now let's look at it with the console background, or the console version of it. It's pretty interesting that they mentioned that it was a government building on the first floor. Oh, not this. And I guess we might as well look at this. Interesting. It's all, like I said, it's always really fucking cool looking at just pictures of the past or of a specific era. Here's the console background, by the way. The fucking caterpillar in the background. But I've always found pictures to be like really, really interesting. Specifically those of the past or the recent past. Say the early to mid 2000s, the late 90s, early 90s, late 80s, early 80s. I've always found them to be just very interesting. Because of course pictures are, you know, a window into the past. As lame as that might sound, but it really is. Like this is like what we're staring at right now is a picture that the game developer, which is one dude, took in like 2001 or 2000. And this place probably doesn't exist anymore. This library or this reception center, it's probably gone. And this is the only way you're going to be able to experience it or get a look into this time frame, this window of the past, just by seeing this image right now. You're never going to see it again, probably. And this applies to any image, any picture that you might see ever of anything. It's like I'm sure you've heard someone say something like, oh, here's a picture of me when I was younger. Like every picture of you is a picture of you when you were younger, technically. But when you look at specific just pictures like these, right, like of travel photos or of anything like that, they are always just windows to a specific time period captured for a moment, and that's it. Like this is just something simple. It's a little reception area with a person like walking into their desk, and that's it. That's all it is. And like the magazines in the background are gone. Whatever the machine to the left of them is gone. It's probably a photocopy machine as well. It might just be a trash can. Who knows? But those are gone. You know, everything here probably doesn't exist anymore, or is in storage somewhere, or is in a landfill. It's just an interesting thing to think about. These are things that at least I think about whenever I see just images, which is why it's like just super cool when album covers are just images of like the band somewhere, or the album, the CD like jewel case has a picture of the band somewhere. They're just nice little windows into that time period. But anyway, I'm rambling. We passed through the automatic doors and we were greeted by the cool breeze of an air curtain. The cicadas had been loud outside, but it was quiet inside the library. The air conditioning inside was keeping the temperature at an ideal level for the books, which had that mildew smell unique to old paper.
どこの図書館も似たようなもんだな。
If there was one difference, it was that people studying for tests weren't taking up all the seats. I was one of those people, but now it seemed like a distant memory.
すみません、返却に来ました。
The librarian went through the process of checking them in, and then returned my mom's library card. Shion was going around the bookshelves with a deeply interested look on her face, like she wasn't the type who went to libraries very often.
悪いな、お待たせ。終わったよ。
図書館って涼しくていいところですね。
Mm-hmm.
私、将来は図書館で働きたいです。
Yeah, libraries are super fucking cool. I loved I would go to my university's library all the fucking time. It just sucked that we had like a very limited selection of like ancient literature. Like we had a lot of like American literature, right? We had a lot of like European literature, but we didn't have a lot of like older literature from specific like centuries. It was all stuff from like at least the 1900s upwards, and I have zero interest in like 20th century literature. So it was always like kind of hard to find something good, in my opinion, like to read at my library or at my university's library. So I would have to usually read stuff online for the most part. But just the atmosphere of a library is fucking great.
地味というか堅実というか、姉と比べると随分とささやかな希望だな。
Mion would definitely want to be a hardworking employee for an international trading company or some other crazy job that involved her running around all over the world. Compared to that, what Shion said is pretty heartwarming.
まあ互いの持ち味を大切にしたいですよね。私たち分身じゃなくてシオンとミオンというちゃんとした個人なんですから。
双子は双子なりにいろいろと考えてるんだな。でも楽しそうだよな。俺には兄弟はいないから、うちには俺以外は親しかいない。窮屈なもんだよ。
私だってそうです。お姉とは一緒に住んでるわけじゃないですから。
Oh, right. She said something like that, didn't she? Why, though? Sisters living apart is unusual. We were getting tired of talking while we were walking. And just very quick, here's another background. And the console version. We ended up going to the lounge area, which was vacant, and continuing the conversation.
え、お姉は本家に、私は沖宮の家に住んでるんです。
本家ってなんだ？随分と立派な響きがあるけどな。
本家は本家です。園崎家の本家。お姉は跡取りだから、バッチャと一緒に住んで、いろいろと当主としての修行をさせられてるみたいです。
Right. Because Mion is, the older twin sister. So it makes sense that she would be the heir. Or successor. Mion, the head of the family? It kind of fit her personality, but kind of didn't too.
ケイちゃんは引っ越してきたばかりでしたよね。自分で言うのもなんですけど、園崎家ってここいらじゃ結構名士なんですよ。
本当かよ。
The word personage didn't really match the extremely sociable air that Mion and Shion gave off. From what Shion explained, the Sonozaki family goes way back to the beginnings of Hinamizawa. After the war, they had a bunch of successful ventures and extended their influence to a wide area. I assume by war, they either mean the world wars or actual, like, civil wars that would happen in Japan every now and again.
園崎家はですね、親族全体で助け合う土壌があるんです。今の当主のバッチャが築き上げたんですけどね。
The entire family would provide backup to help one relative with a business venture. They were like a huge living company. This let them avoid tax-related problems and help relatives' ventures succeed, one after another, using large amounts of money.
沖宮の街を歩くことがあったら、看板とかを意識してみてください。園崎の親族が経営しているお店ってとても多いんですよ。
It's a very interesting concept. I never thought if that was something that families did or considered doing, where it sounds weird. It's like streamers who support each other, right? By like showing up to one person's stream or shouting them out or whatever. Interesting. I never thought about that from a business perspective, where you have a family, and then let's say a family member starts a business, then everyone in the family goes and supports them, which then draws in attention from others, and then that helps them grow. Then family member number 2 starts another business or their own business, and then everyone starts helping them out while business 1 also promotes them. And then they kind of start this like chain, and they end up just getting a fuck ton of money that way. I never thought about it. But that'd be a very interesting concept. I'm pretty sure it's a lot harder to do maybe nowadays, but it'd be interesting. Like if you, because just think of it like back in the day, if you had a butcher shop, right, you would get your meat from there. And then if your family member would open up, let's say, a fruit shop, you would recommend that to like your customers. Or like, hey, by the way, this new store opened up like down the road. They sell really good like fruits. You should go check them out. And usually the person who's buying meat is like, well, I do need fruit actually, or fruits and vegetables, right? So they would go to the fruit and vegetable shop and they would get their produce like there, right? And then they would be told, hey, by the way, like this furniture shop just opened up. If you're looking for new furniture, they're having like a sale, right? Like over time, like that would happen. And then you would start growing a clientele for everyone in the family. And word of mouth spreads and stuff like that. That's a very interesting concept, but I'm rambling again. So, sorry about that.
言われてみれば、例のおもちゃ屋も親類の人が経営してるみたいだったな。そういえば、エンジェルモートも親類の人が経営してるんじゃないのか?
So, again, I know Keiichi's kind of stupid, but we were told, I'm pretty sure, in sub-chapter 1 of chapter 2, that Mion's uncle owned the toy shop that he's talking about, because that's where the first event happened in this chapter. And we were told by Shion that her uncle owns Angel Mort, and that he was treating Keiichi for looking after her. That they were all cheering him on for being so nice to her when we rescued her from the creepy otaku that were trying to force her to like clean them up, right? So, like, even I remember this shit, and technically, I covered this like a month ago. And Keiichi covered it 2 days ago. It was definitely surprising.
特に金融不動産関係は強いですね。あと、商工会議所の役員も何割かは園崎姓かその親類がついてます。沖宮一帯を評伝に、市議会議員と県議会議員にも園崎がいますし。
ちょっと待て。なんだかすごい話になってきたぞ。
Her relatives operate shops in downtown Okinomiya, and they're especially strong in finance and real estate. On top of that, there are a lot of those in the Chamber of Commerce and Industry but a lot of those in the Chamber of Commerce and Industry are relatives, or are there even people elected to be local
ひょっ
offices?
として園崎家ってこの辺り一帯じゃすごいんじゃ。
Yeah, dude, they're fucking everywhere.
ねえ、すごいんです。
Oishi-san. All of a sudden, a cigarette-smoking, overweight old man interrupted our conversation. Wait, I know this guy.
どうも。こんにちは。今日はデートですかな？羨ましいですね。
そうだと思ったら邪魔しないでほしかったですね。大石さん。
She didn't deny it though. That was it. He was Oishi-san, a police officer. I thought it was this person who came to my rescue when I got involved with those delinquents before. Now that I thought about it, Mion didn't seem to like him very much.
いえいえ、すみません。知ってる声が聞こえてきたのでついつい。
Oishi-san laughed coarsely, not showing any signs of giving up. As Shion watched him do so, I didn't feel the same sense of malice from her as I had from Mion.
前原さんでしたよね。あなたもタフな人ですね。
Tough.
園崎姉妹を二股かけるなんて。
いや、そんな二股だなんて。
I turned around to look at Shion and pleaded for help, but she grinned and maintained her silence. Her gaze wandered. She looked at the clock.
Ah, ごめんなさい、ケイちゃん。私もうバイトの時間なんです。
そうなのか?
Wait, didn't Shion have something to talk about today? Now this weird man is here, though.
また今度。あ、バイトが終わったら電話します。夜なら電話大丈夫ですよね。
ああ、大丈夫だと思う。
じゃあ、今夜電話しますので、その時に。じゃ。
Shion left so fast she was practically running. Oishi-san was waving at me with a grin. I felt like I'd been left here as bait so she could get away. maybe she was lying about having to go to work.
園崎のご令嬢とこれだけ親しくできるなんて、前原さんもなかなかの大物ですね。私も口の利き方を改めた方がいいかもしれません。
That's right, Oishi-san. You don't want to get demoned away either. Anyway, Oishi-san put a coin into a vending machine as he said something a bit
ア
appalling.
イスティーでいいですか？ミルクは入れます？
えあ、いえ。
じゃあ入れますよ。はい、どうぞ。
He handed me a cup of tea filled to the brim with ice as I looked on absent-mindedly. I don't think I'm obligated to have a guy like this buy me a drink, but he did get it for me, so I'll thank him. Was Oishi-san just killing time? We didn't know each other well, but he still engaged me in conversation about all sorts of dumb things. When I thought back to how I talked with Shion, this seemed like a total disaster.
前原さんは園崎さんのことをどれくらいご存知で？
さっき聞いた以上のことは何も。
So, that's a very weird response to give, if I'm honest. Because that's implying that Oishi-san was listening to their conversation like the entire time. Because he says, "How much do you know about this about Sonozaki?" And he says, "Other than what I heard just now, nothing." Which would mean nothing to literally anyone, right? It's like, imagine you're talking to your friend about a show or a movie or a band you like, right? Your friend goes away, and 10 minutes go by. Some dude shows up out of nowhere and just comes up to you, and then they just ask you, like, "Hey, what do you think about this show or movie or band that you literally just talked about with your friend?" And your response is, other than what I just heard just now, nothing. Like, that means, what the fuck does that mean, Cage? You fucking idiot. Anyway. Until then, I hadn't known anything about either Mion or Shion other than the fact that they were interesting. I really did only just learn that she was the daughter of some prestigious family.
園崎家はこの地域一帯を牛耳ってる薬剤屋さんです。
Ah.
ちなみに彼女のお父さんは関東でも有名なヤクザの大幹部さんです。
Okay, they did censor it as well.
ご存知でした？
But he did say Kanto. So I'm assuming he means the Kanto Yakuza Association. Let me double check something. No, I'm thinking of something else. Never mind. Anyway.
大幹部って。
シオンさんのご自宅をご存知ないんですか？高い塀に有刺鉄線と監視カメラで守られた典型的なヤクザの組長宅ですよ。今度ぜひ遊びに行ってみてください。
She'd mentioned Mion being a successor, but to a Yakuza group?
いえ、まさか。園崎ミオンさんが継ぐのはそんなちんけなヤクザ組織だけじゃありません。彼女が継ぐのは園崎家そのものですよ。そのあたりの意味、ちょっと噛み締めていただけますかな。
Oishi-san had spoken lightly about all this from start to finish, but what he was saying wasn't light in the least. It was abrupt and unbelievable.
ミオンさんがその気になれば、往来の真ん中で人殺しをしたってもみ消せちゃうかもしれないんですよ。
Oh my god.
証人は現れないだろうし、警察にだって圧力をかけられますし。
ミオンは人殺しなんかしないぞ。
しませんしません、ものの例えですよ。
大石さんでしたっけ？名前。
ねえ、そうです。
大石さん、ミオンの家が何だろうと、ミオンは俺の誇れる最高の友人です。それをあまりけなすような言い方は好きになれないですね。
I let my quiet anger show through my gaze as I stared at him. Of course, I could never seem to tell what he's thinking, though I didn't know if it had any effect.
ではザック・バランに、そのミオンさんにいくつかの事件の嫌疑がかかっているとしたらどう思います？
Suspected. Incidents? You can't just say terrible stuff like that on a whim.
何かの誤解に決まってるじゃないですか。ミオンは物騒なことを言うやつだけど、そんな悪いことをするようなやつじゃない。
前原さん、お静かにお静かに。ここ図書館ですから。
Hold on, let me write something down real quick. And this is more for like my theories that I've had so far. Hold on. Okay. This is something for me to reference later. I'll talk about it maybe by the end of the stream. Oishi-san hushed me or shushed me, but in a state of heightened excitement as I was, I wouldn't be calmed so easily.
落ち着いてください。さっきも申し上げました通り、園崎家はいい意味でも悪い意味でもこの辺り一帯で強い力を持っているんです。ですからちょっと何かあるとすぐに疑いがかかってしまう。その辺りをご理解いただきたいのですよ。
Well, I know what Oishi-san is trying to say. Combining it with with what Shion told me before, the Sonozaki family is huge and controls everything from Hinamizawa to Okinomiya. Actually, I got to real quick. Is that a thing? It is... No. Okay. Sorry. Mion, meanwhile, is its successor, who apparently holds strong influence over the entire family. Still, that's all? That's the only reason they're suspecting her?
ですから私だって仕事で仕方なくやってるんです。ミオンさんを疑うためでなく、ミオンさんの疑いを晴らすために捜査をしている。そうお考えいただきたいのです。
He could talk a dog out of a meat truck. He was the definition of a shrewd, unfair adult. At this point, I began to think that it was no coincidence I'd met him.
大石さん、ひょっとして俺に用なんですか？
ねえ、そうですよ。前原圭一さん。
He answered in an absent tone of voice.
何かの事件でミオンを疑っていて、その友人の俺に何か聞きに来た。そういうことですか？
いえいえ、違います。私は園崎ミオンさんの友人と話をしに来たのではなく、前原圭一さんに話をしに来たのです。
He talks like such a fucking cop.
ご自宅にお伺いしたらご迷惑でしたでしょうかね。
俺に警察が何の用だって言うんですか
？Having realized this fake coincidental meeting had me as its target, my mood immediately turned foul.
そんなに構えなくて大丈夫ですよ。肩を楽にしてちょっと質問に答えてくださるだけでいいんです。
それって職務質問ってやつですか？
偶然知り合ったおじさんとの世間話ってことにしましょう。
Yeah. Oishi-san freely suggested that I relax. That said, behind his eyes was a light, which I could only see sometimes, that was sharp as a hawk. If I tried in vain to run away, he might actually take me in and bring me to an interrogation room or something. That was an undoubtedly unpleasant thought.
昨べは渡長市のお祭り盛大で楽しかったですね。
はぐらかさないでください。今さら世間話なんかされても。
Keiji, calm
昨日
down.
の渡長市の晩富武二郎さんと高野美代さんにお会いしませんでしたか？
I could plainly feel myself give a start.
あれ、
give a start.
写真はどこに行っちゃったかな？ああ、あったあった。
He opened a small notebook and removed 2 photographs. I didn't have to look.
さあ、どうでしょう。あったような、合わなかったような。
I was asked the same question for the second time today. I gave the same answer for the second time too.
あれ？記憶が曖昧ですか？まさかアルコールが入っててよく覚えてないなんてのはなしにしてくださいよ。
Here too, I got the same answer as I had from Mion. I realized he wasn't taking my vague reply well. Why is he asking me the same thing Mion did? The dark feelings I had nearly forgotten due to my conversation with Shion came rushing back in a hurry. We snuck into the sacred ritual storehouse, a punishable act. It was on a tiny impulse. While it may not count for much now, I do feel sorry about it.
もう一度お聞きしますよ。
Oh. He's angry now. And stern here.
ゆうべのお祭りで富武二郎さんと高野美代さんにお会いしませんでしたか？
His tone was soft, but there was a dreadfulness in his voice, clearly different from the first time he asked. I'm scared. That was exactly how I felt.
と、繰り返し聞かれても、答えはさっきと同じです。
I don't really remember. There wasn't any better answer I could give him. I didn't have the balls to say I didn't see them, nor the courage to admit that I had. Because you have to remember that we're all outsiders. Shion technically isn't. She is a quote-unquote Hinamizawa resident in the sense that maybe she was born there, but she, isn't living there. But but everyone else that was involved in going into the vault, or not the vault, sorry, but the storehouse, was an outsider. And even then, if someone from the village would have gone into or snuck into the vault, or I keep calling it vault, storehouse, would have probably been severely reprimanded. Imagine an outsider doing this. That would have been even worse. That's like... I'm not sure what they would do. We can kind of guess what they would do, right? Considering that this is a village of people that we learned would cannibalize others in the past. In the past, as in like up to about 20 or so years ago, they would cannibalize people. It makes you wonder what they would do to someone in the current day who's an outsider who happens to violate their traditions and or I shouldn't say laws, but that would disrespect them. It's like spitting in their face to sneak into such a holy ground for them, I guess. Right? Anyway.
そうですか。改めて聞けば、さっきとは違う答えが返ってくるかなと思いましてね。
I'm too scared to look Oishi-san in his eyes.
では、質問を変えます。ほら、前原さん。リラックス、リラックス。
Oishi-san grabbed my shoulders and squeezed them, as if trying to give me a massage. It mostly just hurt, though. Still, why would he ask the same things as Mion? If he's asking the same things, then the next question must be... Did you
同
see
じく
Shion last
夕べのお
night?
祭りなんですが、園崎しおんさんにお会いしませんでしたか？
I wondered what that sound was, and when I looked down, I saw that it was the unmelted ice in the cup I was gripping with my hands. My hands were trembling, rocking the ice back and forth. Realizing that, I hastily put the remaining ice in my mouth and crunched down on it.
すみません。あったかもしれないですけど、ほら、ミオンにもそっくりですから、ミオンと見間違えてるかも。
そんなわけはないでしょう。
If he says they were wearing different outfits, I swear to God, dude. Suddenly, Oishi-san grabbed both my shoulders and hunched down to give me a level stare. This is a new smug face we have not seen of Oishi-san. Oh my god. This must be what it's like to be a deer in the headlights. I want to look away, but I can't. This is the first time I've experienced such a piercing stare.
ミオンさんもシオンさんもそうは
Shut
全
the
然
fuck
違うんですか？
up, Oishi-san, you piece of shit. I knew it. I fucking knew it.
そう簡単に見間違えるはずはありませんよ。前原さん。
Why is that always the comeback? See, like, you have to remember, this is a video game, right? This is a visual novel. And in this visual novel, Mion and Shion have green hair. Right? They're the only ones that have green hair that we've seen so far. Our teacher has blue hair. I can't think of any other character with, like, you know, oddly colored hair off the top of my head right now. Everyone else is like either, you know, gray-haired, black-haired, brown-haired, or blonde, right? If you're in a festival and you see someone with green hair, they stand out. If this was real life, then Mion and Shion probably just have black hair. And the only way you could probably tell that they are in like the distance is by looking at their clothing, maybe, or looking at their silhouette, maybe, and recognizing them that way. But otherwise, like, they both have green hair. So him being like, they wear completely different clothes, bro. You should know. Anyway, his voice was harsh. Harsh. The same as when Mion said it. I could feel my heartbeat quickening. When I realized he could feel it through the hands on my shoulders, I got even more scared. Why? Why are Mion and Oishi-san both asking about last night? Was sneaking into that storehouse so... I shouldn't have let Takano-san talk me into it. Tomitaka-san casually said to check it out too, so... Even Shion, if she hadn't encouraged me... No, I understood. I was the one most at fault here. I shouldn't have let my curiosity get the better of me. I shouldn't have gone into the forbidden storehouse.
おいさん、蛍の光っす。
A young man wearing a suit came into the lounge. We finally get to see Kuma-san? Or Kuma-chan? From the way he held himself, I knew immediately that he was Oishi-san's subordinate.
Hmm?
No.
ありゃ、本当だ。もう閉館なんですね。
I hadn't realized it until he said something. The jingle and the announcement telling patrons that the library had closed had started playing without me realizing it. I was so irritated, so overwhelmed that I couldn't even hear it.
じゃあ、前原君。もうこんな時間なんで、私たちは失礼させてもらいます。このお話は、もっと時間のある時にのんびりといたしましょう。
This isn't a joke. If I never saw him again, it would be too soon. Oishi-san followed his subordinate and left the lounge behind him. However, he spun back around.
そうそう、前原さん。
何ですか？
My card.
さっきさせてもらった2つの質問ですが、どちらの回答もよく覚えてない。 でしたよね。
はい。
参考までに。あなた、昨日全員にお会いしてますよ。4人で楽しそうに歩いてたじゃないですか。石段のところで。私がこの目で見てますから。
I caught my breath, and my heart seemed like it was about to stop. What a detestable person, oh my god. He knew and he was testing me.
ではまたお会いしましょう。良いお年を。
I sat there like a rock, unmoving, until I could no longer hear the clacking sounds of their footsteps. Holy fuck, dude. The way he worded that too, he's like, you don't remember, right? No? Okay. Just to let you know, I saw you with them. In case you forgot. And it was at this time, at this location. I was on my way back home. The cries of the Higurashi accentuated the already lonely evening. More time had passed than I thought. The orange of the dusky sky was being chased down, little by little, by an indigo color approaching from the east. Exhausted from the slow climb towards Hinamizawa, without even noticing, I'd gotten off my bicycle and was pushing it uphill. I don't understand any of this. Also, I don't think we've seen this background before. That hatchback in the background is really cool though. And here's the console version. And now it's a sedan for some reason. No one had told me to my face that I'd done something wrong. No, in fact, it might have been much easier on me that way. What happened yesterday really was just my curiosity. It really was no more than a quiet prank. No more than having the courage to cross at a red light as long as you did it with other people. The storehouse for ritual implements, hollowed ground only accessible to the family of the priest. For sure, I'd seen terrifying things that I'd never imagined would be there. Thinking on it now, it didn't matter what was stored away inside. It didn't make the wrong I had committed any more right. But the four of us did. Mion seemed to know about it. For some reason, even the police were trying to learn what the four of us did. Did we do something so bad? Really? It doesn't matter how wrong it was. I did something wrong. It was nothing more than that, and yet I couldn't accept it. I didn't apologize to Mion or Oishi-san. All I did was shield myself with ambiguities. I did something wrong yesterday. I set foot into a forbidden storehouse for a little bit of mischief. I'll forget everything I saw in there. I won't ever do something like that again either. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. If I apologize like that, would they forgive me? The suddenly cool evening air left no room for such sentiment, however, as it mercilessly chilled my feet, urging me to head home as soon as possible. In the end, the evening air was correct. If I trudged along such an isolated road, regrets would pile on top of regrets, but nothing would change. Let's go home. I'll go home, go to my room, put on my favorite music or something, and go to bed. That might sound plain and boring, but it's probably the strongest I've felt all day. Now that I've made a decision, there is no point in dawdling in a place like this. I sat back on my bike. I pushed hard on the pedals. I rapidly advanced forward. I steadily gained speed. The wind was cutting and mercilessly cold, but it actually felt good, as if it were softly punishing me. I love that feeling of like the cold wind hitting you. It's so nice and refreshing. Just the gelid gales caressing your skin. I didn't eat much dinner before excusing myself early and returning to my bedroom. My mom called me from downstairs.
ケイチ電話よ園崎さんから
Sonozaki? Was it Mion? What part of Shion telling you I'll call you later did you forget? Yeah, there we go. No, it was Shion. I just remembered. Okay, I scolded him too early. She'd had something she wanted to tell me today. Oishi-san had interrupted us, so she didn't get the chance. Shion had said she'd call tonight.
もしもし。シオンか。
どうも。今日は災難でしたね。
Mm-hmm. She said it so plainly that I got a bit annoyed. What the fuck, Keiichi? She was the one who left me there and ran.
そんなこと言わないでください。私、ケイちゃんに一緒に逃げようってサインを送ったじゃないですか。なのにケイちゃん、ボサーっと残っちゃって。
ボサってことはないだろう。シオンがあっという間に置いてきぼりにしたんで、あの後俺は大石のおっさんにたっぷり付き合わされたんだぜ。
Keiichi is so fucking clueless, man. But again, it's been established that he's an idiot. It's been established many times today in this chapter that he's an idiot.
そんなの、私に愚痴られても困ります。
I can't believe she passed it off like that. She looks just like Mion, and yet inside, she's this different. I got a little irritated at myself when I realized I was, somewhere in my mind, hoping for the same reaction I would get from Mion, even though she's a different person.
ああ、悪かったよ。次からはシオンを置いてくぐらいのつもりで、真っ先に逃げ出すようにする。
できればレディーファーストでお願いします。
Shion laughed refreshingly. When I heard her voice, I realized that she wasn't really that angry or anything. It was just as she said. The cause of my temper was because it was my own fault for not leaving immediately. I'll stop blaming it on others. Blaming it on others would be...
それより、俺に何か話があるんだろ？
Would be too easy. Anyway.
はい。もしも、もう知ってるなら、改めて言うような話じゃないんです。知ってますか？
Shion lowered her voice suddenly, as if she were glancing around. I had no idea what I could already know.
悪いけど、何のことかさっぱりわからないぞ。ヒントくらい出せ。
ってことは、知らないみたいですね。
She seemed to take my stupid sounding question as evidence. However, her voice didn't sound disappointed or exasperated in the slightest.
実は、昨日の渡流しのお祭りの晩なんですけど。
My entire body jolted as I was assailed by a terrible feeling. Is Shion going to ask me the same thing?
もしもし？ケイちゃん、聞いてます？
ああ、聞いてる。昨日の晩どうしたんだよ。
私たち4人、入ったじゃないですか。
She didn't beat around the bush. Whether or not I wanted to admit it, that was the actual honest truth, and I couldn't act like it hadn't happened.
それでその後、みんなで歩いて、石段のあたりで私たちみんな別れましたよね。高野さんたちは沢に行って、ケイちゃんはその場に残って、私は親類の人たちのところに行っちゃって。
ああ、それがどうした？
お互い、質問の返し合いになっちゃうと拉致が開かないんで、私、いいですか？
Didn't mean to interrupt her.
ゆうべ、富武さんと高野さんに会いませんでしたか？だろ？
はい。あの後、あの二人には会いましたか？
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't surprised. This is the third time I've been asked this question today. Why? What the hell was going on?
どうしてだよ。だからどうしてそれを俺に聞くんだよ。
ほらほら、ケイちゃん。質問は私からのはずです。答えてください。
シオンはあったのか？シオンが先に答えたら俺も答える。
Fuck. My shabby response betrayed how scared and small I felt now. After everything that had happened today, Shion didn't say anything for a few moments. Just as I was beginning to think I'd really put my foot in my mouth with that response, she finally answered me.
もちろん、会ってません。一緒にいた親類が証明できます。
俺だって会ってない。証明って言うなら、ミオンとかレナとかみんながしてくれる。
Now that we knew our answers matched, she let out a sigh and sounded more relieved than anything else.
正直に答えてくれて、じゃあ、言いますね。 昨べ、高野さんと富武さんが死んだんだそうです。
ごめん、シオン。今、なんて言った？
昨べ、高野さんと富武さんが死んだんだそうです。高野さんは焼死体で、富武さんは自殺みたいな感じで、今朝知ったんです。お父さんが親類の人からの電話で話してるのを聞いて。
Late last night, a police car on its way back from the festival security duty had discovered Tomitake-san lying in the middle of the road, heading towards Okinomiya. He had clawed out his throat and died.
なんだよ。喉をかきむしっての自殺って。あの明るそうな富武さんが自殺？何かの間違いだろ？
警察がちゃんと検視したんです。自分の爪でガリガリと喉をかきむしって血管を破いて血をドバドバ出して自分の血で溺れ死んだんだって。
そんなバカな自殺聞いたことないぞ。自分の喉をかき破るなんておかしすぎる。
I realized I was yelling too loudly, so I lowered the force I was putting into my voice. I didn't want my parents to hear me, so I switched to the cordless phone and ran up to my own room.
大声出してごめん。で、高野さんも自殺なのか？
高野さんは自殺かどうかちょっと。
Takano-san's body was found in the mountains of Gifu Prefecture. Employees at a rest stop nearby reported to the police late that night that they could see flames in the mountains. The firefighters dispatched there were the first ones to find her. An autopsy concluded that it was the burned corpse of a half-naked female. They initially considered the body beyond recognition, but directly after there was a request for a dental comparison from the so-and-so prefectural police station in Okinomiya, and the results concluded that it was Mio Takano. The cause of death wasn't confirmed, but it was highly likely to have been a homicide, since she was in her undergarments and her clothes were nowhere in the area.
灯油缶が転がってたそうなんで、焼身自殺の線もあるそうです。
自殺なわけあるものか。同じ死ぬならもっと楽な方法がいくらでもあるだろう。こんなの絶対に自殺なものか。
私だってそう思ってます。富武さんのだって自殺だなんて考えられない。
After the two of us rattled on at each other, there was a silence as we paused to catch our breaths. And as we calmed our nerves, right then I understood what Shion's story actually meant.
お社様のたたりってことになると思います。私たちたたられるのに十分な資格がありますから。
資格って冗談じゃないぞ。別に俺は。
Shion wanted to see it with me. I just went along with her. I tried to say that, but I fell silent. Nothing would come of me blaming others. It didn't matter how much everyone else encouraged me. I could have put my foot down. I lost to my own half-assed sense of adventure and agreed to go in with them. Yes, it was my fault and no one else's.
シオン、お前は昨べ細工殿の中に忍び込んだらこうなるかもしれないと予想はついてたのか？
まさか。そりゃ多少はヤバいとは思いましたけど、こんなことになるなんて夢にも思いませんでした。
Shion's words were probably her true feelings. She knew she could get in trouble if we were caught, but that was the thrill of this little adventure. It was the same for me.
それよりもケイちゃん、ちょっとよく考えてください。今年のお社様のたたりはおかしくないですか？
Yeah. It was already plenty strange seeing as how Tomitake-san and Takano-san died like that. Given all that, what could possibly be stranger?
遺体が2つ見つかったってことです。言いましたよね。例年は1人が死んで1人が消えるんです。2人の死亡が確認されたのは今年が初めてです。
確かにそうかもしれないけど、そんなのは大した問題じゃないだろう。
いいえ、ケイちゃん。 もっと真剣に考えてください。いいですか？二人の死がお社様のたたりということになってるなら、お社様の怒りを鎮めるための生贄もまた二人分必要なはずなんです。
そういう理屈になるのか？じゃあなんだよ。富武さんと高野さんが死んだ陰で今年は二人が行方不明になってるってのか？
I don't understand why, but when I said that, I felt my spine freeze.
まだ誰も行方不明になってないと思います。多分二人が失踪するのはこれからじゃないかと思うんです。
Shion, like me, was obviously getting the same feeling crawling down her back.
これから二人が失踪する。
Shion didn't answer. I couldn't say any more than that either. A chill crept in through my clothes, and tried to wrap it. A chill crept in through my clothes and tried to wrap into a fist around my heart. Cold hands feeling about on my chest. Neither of us could say anything. Tomitaka-san opened the lock and he died. Takano-san exposed the ritual storehouse and she died. If two more people were to be sacrificed, then they would be me. None other than the ones who entered with them. None other than us.
まさか冗談だろ？
I wanted so much for her to pass this off as a joke even now. That, though, was such an incredibly difficult and selfish request. If Tomitaka-san and Takano-san had died in a common way like a car accident, I could tell myself that it was a coincidence. Instead, he clawed out his own throat, and she burned to death, drowned in oil in the mountains. The two deaths were so out of the ordinary that I couldn't possibly dismiss it as mere coincidence. It was as if, in exchanging for sneaking into the ritual storehouse, there must be someone punishing us, some sort of cruel will working behind the scenes. Even so, I still didn't want to accept that terrifying truth. If I did, then I would have to acknowledge that a horrible crisis was growing near for Shion and I. That's why I argued against it. I argued knowing I was running away.
大地、そんなの新聞に出てないぞ。そんなに奇怪な事件なら絶対に新聞やテレビで報道するはずだろう。雑誌記者とかだって面白がって大勢来るに決まってる。
マスコミに報道されないのは当然なんです。過去にそうだったから。
When the incidents occurred for the third year in a row, there were some third-rate magazines that sniffed out the story and ran issues full of gossip columns about Hinamizawa. Fearing that the region would develop a negative stigma, they negotiated with the prefecture and the police. Since last year, it became a big conspiracy whether no information about the incidents was allowed to be leaked to the media.
村長とか、あと園崎家出身の金バッジが警察に思いっきり圧力をかけたんだって聞いてます。
じゃあつまり二人の死は秘密裏に処理されてしまったということか。
そういうことです。もちろん警察は捜査をしてますよ。でも秘匿捜査ということなので捜査活動にはかなりの制限が加えられているそうです。これは事実上の捜査妨害と言えるでしょうね。
The story was unbelievable. People died, and yet they don't publicize it and deal with everything in secret.
もっと噛み砕いて言うと、綿流しの夜に誰が死んでも公にはならないということです。
そんなバカな話があってたまるか。
ケイちゃん、私以前にお社様のたたりは村人が起こしてるかもしれないって言いましたよね。つまりそういうことなんです。このひなみ沢では毎年綿流しの夜にお社様のたたりということにして誰かを殺してもいい土壌がいつの間にか作り上げられているんです。
When someone dies on the night of the Watanagashi, it turns into the curse of Oyashiro-sama. The curse turns into the serial murder incidents. In order to avoid exacerbating the negative stigma surrounding Hinamizuwa, those incidents are dealt with in secret.
バカな。毎年死者と行方不明者が出るんだろ。いくらマイナスイメージって言ったって警察にも限度があるだろう。
毎年の事件が不可解って言うなら警察も本腰を入れられるんでしょうけど、何しろ毎年の事件は個別に解決してますので連続事件という形にならないんですよ。たまたま毎年綿流しの晩に不幸なことが起こる、それだけのことに。
Most of the criminals responsible for the original dismemberment were arrested. The last one managed to get and stay away, but the events were totally exposed and elucidated, so it was, in essence, resolved. The damn supporting couple who died in an accident on the second year, that was an accidental death, plain and simple. They made a lot of investigations into the possibility of it having been a homicide, but they didn't turn up anything. It ended up as an accident. It was resolved. On the third year, the priest fell ill and passed away. There were doctors present at the hospital at his deathbed, and they all had trustworthy medical certificates. They even did an autopsy. It concluded that it wasn't a homicide. That was resolved too. On the fourth year, the sister-in-law of the damn supporting couple was murdered. The criminal was an abnormal man with a history of regular psychostimulant usage. He confessed that he thought Oyashiro-sama's curse was so interesting he wanted to try it out. The criminal died of an accident while imprisoned, so this incident was essentially resolved as well. That's right. None of the incidents had any relation to another, and each was independently resolved.
なのになぜか毎年綿流しの晩に不幸な偶然が起こる。連続事件にしたくても連続にならないんです。
Right. Because like a lot of things are currently just going on with Oyashiro-sama's curse, right? And we can either assume that it is related to the curse or that it's not. Right now the game is throwing a bunch of, let's say, curveballs at us to try to get the old noggin jogging and honestly make us think hard about whether or not Oyashiro-sama's curse is real, or if it really is a purge-like scenario where the residents of Hinamizuwa get a free pass to basically kill someone and make someone else disappear under the guise of Oyashiro-sama, considering the history of Hinamizuwa and how they used to be a cannibalistic village that would kidnap and murder people. It really makes you wonder, like, whether or not this is an actual incident going on where, or not an actual incident, it's an actual curse going on where Oyashiro-sama is real and he is punishing people for, violating the traditions of Hinamizuwa, or if it's actually just individuals that are, causing all of these murders to occur.
それでも毎年必ず誰かが死んで誰かが消えていく。
The story Takano-san told me on the day before during the setup. Now that the curse had really occurred this year, I couldn't just laugh it off.
じゃあ、俺たちも狙われるっていうのか。毎年一人死ぬと一人が消えるように、富武さんや高野さんの道連れに消えさせられるっていうのかよ。
My lips had at some point become completely dry. And just saying that was difficult. Shion didn't respond. Her silence, however, was the clearest form of confirmation she could give me. Oh boy.
俺たち、そりゃ確かに入っちゃいけないところだったかもしれないが、見ただけだぜ。何かを盗んだり、持ち出したり、見たことを誰かに喋ったわけじゃないんだぜ。
I was already regretting having committed such a wrong, or such a wrong. Even so, was it really so bad that Tomitake-san and Takano-san deserved such cruel deaths?
第一、俺はあんなの見ても全然面白くなかったし、高野さんが見て一人で大喜びしてただけだろ。悪いのは高野さんだけだよ。俺は全然関係ないぜ。興味もないし関係ないし、あの中にあったものだって知ったことじゃない。
I knew saying so wouldn't solve anything. I could feel myself, my cold self in the innermost depths of my heart, disgusted at my pointless howling. However, my emotions had broken through the dam and I couldn't stop them anymore.
俺はもともと興味なんか全然なかったんだ。リカちゃんの演舞を見ていたかっただけなんだ。それをシオンが勝手に連れ出したんじゃないか。
Oh.
あの二人が泥棒しようが相引きしようがしたことじゃない。そうだよ。そもそもシオンが中に入ろうって言い出したんだ。
Keiichi, what the fuck?
ケイちゃんは見ておく必要があるとかなんとか思わせぶりなことを言って中に引き込んだんだ。どうしてくれるんだよ。俺は全然関係ないんだぞ。どうすんだよ。どうすんだよ。どうやって責任を取ってくれるんだよ。おい、聞いてる。
Click. Without any warning, the phone cut off with the soft sound of a receiver being slammed down. Shion was just as terrified as I was. I just said some really self-centered things. My riled up emotions disappeared as if they'd never existed, and in their place surged waves of deep regret at having run my mouth so irresponsibly. I could try to call out Shion's name from beyond the disconnected phone, but it was too late. What have I done? Shion was only trying to tell me as much as she could about this thing about to descend upon us. As for me, I could only whine like a child about it. I went to call her back, but then remembered she lived in Okinomiya. I didn't know her phone number. Since I had declared to Mion that I hadn't seen Shion last night, I couldn't just call Mion and ask her for Shion's phone number. I was too scared. I couldn't even call her back. I was stricken with hopeless regret. I returned the receiver to its stand, and I simply prayed that Shion would call me back again. Please, Shion. Calm down. And call me again. I swept up the receiver as I thought it wouldn't go through if I didn't grab it at that exact moment. Is this the Mayabara residence? Excuse me for the late call. I'm Kimiyoshi. Is this the head of the household? It was the voice of a middle-aged man. All of my hopes rushed out of me.
いえ、違いますけど、親父に用なら呼んできます。
I went to put the receiver back down, but the caller stopped me hurriedly. Oh no, if he's busy, then it's fine. This may be a strange question, but is my old man paying you a visit?
いえ、誰も来てませんけど。
I see. Again, I apologize for calling you so late at night. Goodbye. I don't know who that was, but what if Shion tried to call while I was on the phone? I thought, bubbling with egotistic anger. Hey, wait. Give it a break, Keiichi. These are the selfish emotions that made Shion mad at me, aren't they? The more I thought about it, though, the more I thought that Shion had given up hope in the short time since we had our conversation and didn't want to call anymore. Calm yourself, Keiichi. If Shion does call again, then first apologize in a calm voice. If you do that, then Shion should understand. However, no matter how long I waited, the phone didn't ring again that night. What a fucking chapter, dude. Holy fuck. Alright, we got new tips. Let's go ahead and save real quick. man, again, it's such a tense scene. Just seeing everything that's going on. Seeing Keiichi behave like a child, basically. Seeing Keiichi be so immature. And it makes you hate him. It makes you really, really dislike him. But that means that he's well written. Whenever you encounter a character in media, whether it's a movie, whether it's an anime, whether it's a show, if they behave like this, by that I mean in an organic way, in a way that is normal, in a way that any individual could be not predicted, but it's possible that they would also behave in this manner, that means that they're well written. This happens a lot with, like, for example, like, whatever opinion you might have on this, with, like, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, right? If you look at the first arc, right, which is Phantom Blood, the main antagonist of that series is Dio, right? Dio Brando. And Araki makes you fucking hate him. He makes you despise this guy. And the way he does so is by having him act like a fucking cunt the entire time. And it makes you just hate him. Like, he kills a dog, right? The first time you see Dio, he gets off of a carriage, and Jojo's dog runs towards him to greet him, and Dio knees him in the fucking chin and kicks him away, right? And immediately you're like, this guy is a fucking asshole because he just attacked an animal, right? He attacked a dog, and that's something that writers will do. That's an easy way to get you to hate someone. If they mistreat an animal, if you see someone abuse an animal, it will make you hate them, right? That's what happens with Keiichi, where Keiichi acts like such a brat, and it makes you be like, what the fuck is his problem? Why is he acting this way? Why is he lashing out at Shion? And it makes you hate him for a little bit, but then you remember, oh, well, he's scared. He's like 14. He's this fucking kid who is afraid that he's going to die. Two people that he met not long ago and that he spent some time with yesterday are now dead. One committed suicide by clawing at his throat until he reached his blood vessels and fucking died. He drowned in a pool of his own blood. And then you have another person that he met last night who was found burned alive, and her body was charred and dumped on the side of a mountain in an oil barrel. If you put yourself in Keiichi's shoes and imagine something like that happening to you, imagine the last person you ever interacted with, the last two people that you ever interacted with. Imagine if that happened. You hung out with them the night before, and then the following morning you're told, or the following evening you're told that they were both found dead. Even if you weren't close to them, it would still creep you out. It would still disturb you. And if they were close to you, it would be very fucking weird. It would be deeply disturbing. So obviously, like, I mean, Keiichi's he's 14. He doesn't, he's not an adult. You shouldn't expect him to be like, Keiichi, why the fuck are you yelling at her? All she's doing is telling you what's going on. She's also worried. She's also scared. Because he's a dumb 14-year-old kid. Like, it's to be expected. But anyway, that just means that, again, he's a very well-written character. He's a well-written teenage character. Because, like, an adult would have been like, it might have reacted that way, or might have thought the way Keiichi was yelling, but not actually yelled it out. They would have thought about it rationally, and then been like, okay, I see what you're saying, and then just go from there. But anyway, that's enough rambling. Let's look at the new tips, and then I'll talk a little bit about my theories, or the updated theories that I have now. Okay, so we've got from the scrapbook 6, 7, and then the late night phone call. So remember, these scrapbooks, I believe, are from the nurse, whose name I keep forgetting even though I was just told her name a bit ago. But anyway, the significance of Watanagashi. Watanagashi, a festival of hunting for sacrifices and feasting on them. While the festival itself is remarkable, it has come to be considered a form of entertainment as well. Perhaps it was because of the disparity between being both an egregious act and a form of entertainment that the perpetrators began to believe themselves transcendent. However, I found some very interesting literature that appears to raise questions about that explanation. As with most oral traditions, it's not easily swallowed, but it does mention a few things that sparked my interest. According to this literature, even the residents of Watanagashi village felt fear towards this ritual. Women and children would grow pale and tremble, and those of weak constitution would vomit, but it is said that the feast, the dissection, was an obligatory viewing. My god. This is an extremely curious tale. Until now, I thought that the residents of Watanagashi village were fascinated by the Watanagashi ritual. They looked down on those vulgar barbaric humans, cut them open like fish, and by eating them, they reaffirmed their own holiness. At least, that's what I thought. However, if what the villagers gained from this ritual was not fascination but fear, then that would suggest the ritual meant something entirely different. There's the possibility that the executions were meant as warnings, encouraging the villagers to strictly follow the religious precepts created by those with power for their own convenience. Watanagashi village has been effectively ruled over by 3 old families called the Three Families. Without investigating the 3 families, I probably won't get any closer to the truth of Watanagashi village. So this could be related to, this could be Oishi-san's notes then, but I'm pretty sure they're the nurse's notes. Because she mentioned, because the notes mentioned something in the past about wanting to go into like the altar and looking at things. And then one thing as well, it could be that, that this was done specifically for instilling fear in the masses or those that are part of the village. Again, I'm not going to ramble too much on religion, but putting aside whatever you might feel regarding religion, or if you yourself are religious, objectively, for the most part, throughout human history, religion, excluding it being as a way to distract the masses or to give them a sort of relief as to what comes after death, right? Or something to look forward to after death. It has been, for the most part, used as a tool to control individuals. This is very prominent with the Catholic Church specifically, or if you look at the Roman Empire, where it would be used as a tool of fear, where people would be scared shitless of death. But the only way to ensure your salvation is by donating to the church. So work really hard so that all of these common things that you might do as a human are forgiven, right? Like, I won't rant too much about it, but think of it the same way with this ritual that's going on. You are forced to watch as someone was hunted down from a neighboring village, kidnapped, brought over to this village. The entire village now gathers around in a festival where they watch as someone is tortured, not killed, and then sliced open while they're alive, and they are then slowly consumed by those performing the ritual. Like we learned yesterday that it was hypothesized that the victim would be captured and then just tortured. They would have their bones broken, they would have their limbs torn, or severed or damaged in a way that would not kill, but prolong the suffering of the individual being, well, toyed with, right? These are things to consider. And again, it could be seen like as a warning where you either watch or this could be you. Look at what we can do. These are things that we as a village are capable of doing. And these are our traditions, and you need to respect them. You need to remember them and keep them alive, right? Like, that's the type of fear that these like small villages might have, or the influence that they might have on each other. But anyway, from the scrapbook 7. The Three Families. The 3 families referred to the 3 old families who effectively came to rule Watanagashi village. To break it down, there was the Kimiyoshi family, the Furude family, and the Sonozaki family. And each one of them still exists today. Though they don't have as much control as they did in the remote past, they still hold considerable influence today. The three families are considered by legend to be those in whom the blood of the swamp demons or swamp ogres run the thickest. The Kimiyoshi family. The Kimiyoshi family appears to have held great power as the head of the three families, but it doesn't have that kind of leadership today. The current mayor of the village, Kiichiro Kimiyoshi, is from this family. The fact that the members of the Kimiyoshi family are elected as mayor every generation is thought to be a remnant of the old system. Of course, as no rival candidates appear, it doesn't change the fact that the Kimiyoshi family holds the mayoral office, even through popular elections in the post-war era. The Furude family. The center of the village's faith since ancient times, the Furude clan has guarded the sole shrine dedicated to Oyashiro-sama. They were worshipped as the only people to represent the voice of Oyashiro-sama for a long time, but the family branched off after the war and lost most of its power. It now consists of only the main house. The main house as well presently consists of only one daughter, Rika Furude, so the lineage may end in this generation. There's apparently an old tradition of honoring females of the Furude family, so the only daughter, Rika, is the subject of much respect among the elderly of the village. And then the Sonozaki family. It is said that this family had a certain police-like role of protecting the religious precepts of Onigafchi village. Of the three families, their relatively weak position can be seen from putting them here last. Of course, today the Sonozaki family is flourishing and the state of affairs among the three families is completely reversed. Even now, one could say that they are in control of Hinamizuma. The three families conferring with each other is similar to the old way. The current head of the Sonozaki family, Oryu, essentially decides all of the ongoings in the village by herself. That's also very interesting. And then finally, the late night phone call.
夜分遅くに失礼いたします。君吉と申しますが、ご主人でいらっしゃいますか。はい。いえいえ、その節は本当にありがとうございます。それでですね、こんな時間に大変恐縮なのですが、うちのおじいちゃんがお邪魔してないかと思いまして。ですよね。はい。こんな時間に申し訳ありませんでした。それでは失礼いたします。ごめんください。
どうだい？ダメ？
参ったな。どんなに熱中しても電話くらいはしてくれる人なんだけれどな。
囲碁の人の家は全部電話したんでしょ？
はい、君吉です。
園崎です。どうです？村長さんは見つかりましたか？
ああ、ミオンちゃんか。片っ端から電話をかけてみたけど、ダメだよ。見つからないんだ。参ったな。どこで油を売ってるのかな。
こっちでも心当たりにいろいろと問い合わせましたけど、全然。ばっちゃんにも相談したんですが、青年団を招集して探し回った方がいいだろうということです。
こんな時間にかい。それに別に行方不明になったと決まったわけでもないし。
綿流しの直後ですから、少し慎重に扱った方がいいとのことです。それでも見つからないなら、明朝警察に通報しましょう。見つかる見つからないは別にして、痛くない腹を探られない方がいいでしょうから。
お涼さんがそう言ったのかい。
はい。直接声を聞かないと信用できないなら、電話先に出させますよ。
いえ、わかりました。青年団を集めて探しましょ それで見つからなければ翌朝に警察に通報します。
青年団の連絡もよろしくお願いしますね。私もバッチャの代行ということでそちらに参ります。
ありがとう。すぐにみんなを集めます。
ええ、では。
More dramatic irony, huh? Alright. Let's, get ready to call it here for tonight then.